welcome to my favorite chair, and we are going to talk today about how I got to my treatment for my chronic vomiting. So I'm going to try to get to this real quick. So although my pain and fibro started up January 2015, but the vomiting symptoms and everything didn't start till spring of 2016, and that actually all came with a right side pain. It was kind of severe. And then in late to early September 2016, I was hospitalized for a crazy low blood sugar, severe side pain, inability to eat or drink, and vomiting. And that severe side pain, we had figured out was due to my gallbladder and to some gallsludge and stones, which the doctors, when I was hospitalized, said weren't there, whereas a couple days before, another hospital had said were there. So then in mid-October 2016, I decided to sign a form to have an elective surgery to have my gallbladder removed. And that is called a cholecystectomy, and it was the best decision because the gallbladder had to go. Turns out it was completely deceased. I was right. And that extreme side pain went away. I no longer had to be pushed around everywhere in a wheelchair because I was having trouble even putting pressure on my crutches, which was awful. And a few weeks later, though, the vomiting, which had subsided after I got my cholecystectomy, it did start up again. And crackers and baby cookies were all that I could eat. Then, by basically January 5th to 8th of 2017, my daily vomiting started. Basically, that was all liquids, all food, everything just came up. There were no exceptions, and nothing could stop it. So through the spring, I had multiple ER trips, projectile vomiting, 15-pound weight fluctuations from week to week, and I had to start using my PSW services or personal support workers, and I also started using paratranspo instead of taxis. I was sleeping next to literally a bucket to throw up in because I was throwing up that much, and it was a very exhausting experience to handle. But after a certain amount of time, it started dying down a little bit. And later that spring, I actually moved into a shared basement apartment with someone trained to be a personal support worker. And I continued to use the PSWs and paratranspo, but I didn't. But I was still throwing up all the time, and you can't ask them to help you, clean up or throw out buckets of vomit. You kind of have to do it all yourself. So it adds a lot of work into your life. It's very exhausting to be throwing up all the time, and you're constantly scrubbing, cleaning, sanitizing every surface. So my condition had evened out, but I still couldn't keep things down. I was mostly drinking meal replacement shakes, and then in August, I met my spouse, which was wonderful, and because I met him in March 2018, just a few months later, we moved 14 hours away to a small mining town called Manitouwadge. It has amazing hospital and nursing staff, and it is way more accessible than Ottawa. I mean, you wouldn't think so, but everything is smaller, so I can get around so much more easily. Then, even though my allergies and my asthma and breathing had gotten so much better, my vomiting started to get worse again, unfortunately. And over time, I had to stop eating meat, dairy, which I'd actually had to kind of slow down over the last couple of years, overly acidic foods, fruits, stuff like that, certain vegetables and fatty foods, and now I eat mostly toast, certain fruits, and basic other things like that. I do try meat and other no-go foods every once in a while, just to see if I can reincorporate some of them into my diet again, but they usually end up in vomiting. Also, choking on foods. I tend to choke on drier or harder foods or even medications. It's kind of like my throat is kind of closing up and I just cough them straight out into my hand. It's not something I can really do anything about. It just happens, unfortunately. But there we go. Anyhow, so here comes the part we've been waiting for. So 23 days ago, I started introducing 1,000 milligrams of L-carnitine and 100 milligrams, 1,000 milligrams 2 times a day of L-carnitine and 100 milligrams 2 times a day of coenzyme Q10 to my medication routine. Freaking magic happened. So I've only had 4 vomiting incidences in the last 23 days, and my nausea has been crazy low. I mean, when you've had nausea for, right around the 2-year mark, I mean, this is ridiculous. It's really low. And I can almost drink as much as a normal person, which for me it's completely life-changing. Basically, this treatment, I found it online. I don't know the name of it because I grabbed all the information months ago. But basically, a couple of years ago, right around when the fibro was diagnosed, my doctor and I talked about starting coenzyme Q10 as a treatment for fibromyalgia. But because of the cost, and I was still trying to get on a few other medications, including Cymbalta, which was not covered by ODSP at the time, I couldn't really afford it. And then I found this study where they had, people with chronic vomiting and cyclic vomiting had been trying it, and it had done wonders, changing their lives. And the idea that I could be using a medication, 2 medications, and it could be treating possibly fibromyalgia and chronic vomiting, I mean, that was a match made in heaven. I thought, it's basically doing 2 trials in 1, which that's awful, but it is kind of much less of a risk for me because whenever I try a new medication as a treatment, I have to try it for at least 3 months unless find out I'm allergic to it, which is what happened with pregabalin. And well, so far this treatment, it works really, really well. I don't think it's doing anything for my fibromyalgia, but I might be wrong about that. But in terms of the nausea and the vomiting, it is changing my life. So, wow, this has been a long video, 8.5 minutes. But hopefully, if you stuck around, you have enjoyed listening to my rambling of my entire chronic vomiting story. These have just been the jot points. I had to really compact it down, unfortunately. It was pages and pages long. So hopefully you guys have had an amazing day. Maybe some of you have your Christmas trees up just like I do. It's the best room in the house now. And you guys have an amazing night. Bye.